everyone. Welcome to Ujana Podcast. Ujana Podcast is a podcast that is centered around young people. We're going to lean into our youthful experiences. For those of us who believe we are still young, we are going to still, share some of those experiences and also learn from those that believe to be young. Ujana Podcast is going to be able to add value to young people themselves, those that work with young people, and the communities that they live in. My name is Caroline Momanyi, and I'm going to be your host.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Dorsila Ogola. I am passionate about the youth. I'm passionate about conversations that encourage growth, especially around young people. And today we are joined by our wonderful guest. I'm going to allow him to introduce himself.
My name is Mark Mutugi. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so passionate about the youth and youth development. I just wanted to congratulate you guys, first of all, for, starting this. This is episode 1.
Long time coming.
Long time coming, must say. Yeah, so congratulations. And I really look forward to what the podcast grows to. I know it's going to be impactful. It's going to be helpful. Yeah. Let's get to it.
Awesome. I think one thing I'm gonna put out as a disclaimer, considering the time we're shooting this episode, we have not appointed ourselves leaders of the youth.
Don't even go there. We started off by saying when we were young. So they can keep guessing how old we are.
Sitaki kusalimiwa, guys.
Ni kusema tu mambo ya vijana yanatuhusu.
Yes,
because we have young people as siblings, as friends, and we still have some 2 cents, to share with young people.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, so to our very first episode, I tell you, where we're going to talk about identity. Najua hiyo story inaleta stress hapa na pale. And for those of us who've had experiences of going for job interviews, now unaulizwa the famous question, tell us about yourself.
Unatoa folder yako.
Lazima utoe folder.
Hujasoma personal profile hapo juu.
Hapana, ni zile words umegoogle. Si mshaisikia watu wakisema I am oriented something, skill,
self-driven.
I work best under pressure.
Which is a no.
Until it comes.
But you can't blame them because identity is such a big thing.
Yeah.
And it's something that we would like to unpack and see how do you start understanding yourself, what resources are available for you, and what experiences can you continue to lean on as you develop your identity.
I think for me, especially with that question, tell us more about yourself. I am just thinking back about how many things I've lied, like depending on the job, depending on the role, right? And also just how dumbfounded you are, like, who are you? You're like, who am I? Like, I'm just 25 or I'm just 24, 23. This is my first who am I type of question you're experiencing. And you realize you actually don't know. You have no idea. So unatafuta tu CV kia mtu hapo online. You're like, okay, so this is who I am to suit that type of situation. It makes me think in the different situations that we found ourselves in, the things we've had to create about ourselves to fit in or to gel. I don't know, what's your experience?
Same, because you see, even in CVs, like you told, even in jobs, like you tailor make your CV to that position. You get. So it's
fake it till you make it.
Usiseme we ni hii na job inasema tunataka hii.
Ni job unatafuta.
Unatafuta job.
Like focus.
Focus. Sema we ni hii na hii na hii. You'll get the job. At the end of the day, you still ask yourself the same question. Hey, who am I?
Yeah. And even the conflict of, is it even important?
Yeah.
Like, mbona unataka kujua who am I? Si mi tunatafuta job,
And then 6 months down the line after job, ndo unajua the real you.
Does not work well under pressure.
Now that tunaongelea mambo ya job, like I remember when I went to, I think one of the most significant interviews naweza sema. Juu hizo zengine ilikuwa unaenda place, unafanya presentation. Guys are like, oh, would like you in our team, so I had not really experienced. Like, some of us were lucky, maybe. In that century. Anyway, alafu nikaitwa interview. Do you know I went to Isili? Nikabai suti ya skati. Me. A whole me.
Skirt.
Tena long skirt.
Hey.
Like it's never my preferred taste. But
Mhm.
you know that struggle of nafaa kuonekana aje, you know, how am I supposed to look like
Yeah.
and look like and fit into the opportunity that I was going for.
Yeah.
And do
Yeah.
you know that was the first and last
Last
time
time.
I
You
wore
ever
that suit.
did that?
And then I got into that job. This manager one time tells me, "Hey, and who was that person who came for that interview?"
Begging.
Because
You are literally begging for the job.
Uncle, please,
You did all it took.
at all, yeah. But maybe we can also delve into some of our
Mhm.
early experiences in life, you know,
Experiences, right?
maybe in our very early years when you
Yeah.
were like in
Yeah.
primary school, you know,
Mhm.
what are some of those experiences that, you know, shifted or moved you to continue developing your
Your
identity,
identity.
you know, unconsciously even?
Yeah, I think for me, especially as a teenager, because that's when that question comes in and you're very conflicted, right? I grew up in a family of so many people in terms of siblings. So your identity was really, so what behavior are people doing?
Mhm.
And which is most favorable, which one gets you the most attention,
Mhm.
which one gets you the most recognition. So ukiona you adjust yourself,
Adjust.
right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
remember now as I was transitioning into now being an adult, you know, up to 12, 13,
Mhm.
as a
Where
woman.
12, 13 is the adult.
No,
Hey,
like
hey, hey, hey.
I'm getting closer to
Oh,
18.
Okay.
oh, oh,
Sawa,
oh.
So
sawa.
at that transition of becoming now a woman, no one is telling you now you're becoming a woman. You know, like you're figuring it out on your own.
Mhm.
And it was so taxing
Mhm.
emotionally, mentally, and you would feel inside yourself that this is not a conversation that people are open to have, right?
Mhm.
And I struggled even with that transition into now I'm a woman, you know, and what that meant in the world and how I needed to carry myself in the world. So that transition was also quite difficult for me. Yeah. I don't
Wow.
know about you.
For me, I know it was tough because
Mhm.
at the time, you know, African parents, it's education and the church.
Mhm.
You
They
know,
did the best they could.
they did the best they could. It was
Right?
education and church. Like my
Yeah.
dad, it's as for me and my house, we shall praise the Lord.
Hey, hiyo kitu
Amen.
ilikuwa kwenu pia?
Hey,
Ilikuwa kwetu pia.
Sunday. Ujikokote hivi tu sijui kwa kitanda sijui nini.
Uh-huh.
As for me and my house, we shall praise the Lord.
Mhm.
So they were focused and it's what they wanted. They wanted the best for you. So they want you to go through this education process, do your best. But at the same time, you're going through all these other things, you know, body changes, umeanza kufeel kama mtu,
Yeah.
haujui utafanya nini hizo feelings zako. You can't go to your parent. You can't approach that conversation because inaweza kuwa tricky. So umacho in a space where you don't even know how to deal. So it was really challenging at the time. Yeah.
Mi hata kitu ilikuwa inanishangaza ni like unashindwa, who are you supposed to be? Because una get, for my case, one, I have two brothers before me. So
Yeah.
in terms of just that exposure, I am liking how they are sailing in life. Yeah, because I mean, they were allowed a lot of things. They could play late.
As boys, as men,
boys,
right?
Yeah.
And then me, when I check at my sisters, oh, by then I'm representing last bonds.
Yeah.
Last bonds in your sister. I'm looking at my sisters, man, they're suffering. Yani, as much as they can play, they have to kind of call themselves and do other things as well. So me, smart me at that age, I'm thinking, how will I say like my brothers?
Yeah. Correct.
That meant I just had to adopt, you know.
Yeah.
I choose what my brothers are doing, play what my brothers are playing, and playing, I did play soccer. Me, I played soccer.
Soccer?
Bana. Okay, football.
Football, yeah. So
Where you see now, you know. Whatever. Anyway, so playing football and you know, making sure I'm hanging out with my brothers and making sure I'm not also suffering as my sisters are suffering in house chores. And for me, identifying as this tough, you know, young girl who is very versatile. And even when I'm playing soccer, my parents will still be having an issue with that. You know, they're like, you're supposed to be reading, you're supposed to focus on your studies. So, me hata sielewi. nafaa tu nikuwe nasoma ama can I
Can I
explore
explore?
hizo vitu zengine alafu hata mi sijui nini nataka
Exactly.
juu all the choices I was making, all the things I wanted to identify with were things that at that time I'm thinking my life is sailing through, yani sina shida. Kaa napenda sports nitacheza my boys na sitaosha vyombo, you know.
Yeah.
And that works for me, but is it something that I would really like to pursue, or does it really speak to the strengths I have or things like that? So for me it was just identifying to benefit. Wacha niite hivyo.
Survival.
Actually survival.
Yes.
Yeah.
Survival. I think for me, majorly, what I'm hearing is just conforming, and the pressure sometimes to conform, and the pressure to be this thing that you're not, so that you can appease someone. And it's so risky because you can carry it until you're like 35, until you're like 40,
True.
50. You know, people are talking about, hey, you're trying to date a 35-year-old man. Please don't do it. Because you assume because you're growing, you're becoming someone, or you're becoming more of yourself, but you're playing this people-pleasing game.
Yes.
Especially for women, I think sometimes it's very difficult to like live a life out of the norm or choosing a path that is different. But a lot of that is guided by that self-awareness of this is who I am. But before you get to that, this is who I am point, you've really gone through it. You know, you've had to like play a part that you're not, or be someone that you're not. And for me, I think one of the craziest things I've ever done when it comes to trying to conform, you know, to be a part of a group. You know, I remember, you know, I wanted to be in this Christian group so much. And one of the things they were talking about was, you know, not plating, isn't it waji?
Matuta.
Not matuta.
Lines.
Braids, and all of that.
Okay.
And I have a whole season of natural hair.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's embarrassing. You know, it's embarrassing. And I had to sit myself down and ask self, what's going on, you know?
Wow.
So I think sometimes we do things and over time, because to me, I do believe identity is something you work on over time. Yeah. You try out things. You see, does this work for me? Does it not? I don't know. Do you guys have like those things you did to like try and fit in?
Leo ndasikia ukweli. So
Ukweli ama uongo?
I don't know. Mi nasema uongo. For me, when I think about the thing I ever did at that age to feel like I fit was to lie.
Lie a lot.
Because already venye nilikuwa nimejieka, people were perceiving me in a certain light. Juu I'm loud, I'm assertive, I look like I have my stuff together, you know, so anajua, for you to have your stuff together, umekipitia na unajua. And I remember for us in that time was, okay, have you maybe had your first sexual debut, you know? And it was a thing like, kama we umehave, we unaweza tuongelesha. Na mi hata zina experience. Nakuja na zero, lakini.
But ile uongo uko nayo hapo.
Ile marketing nilichapa hapo. Kusurvive, kukubalika, you know, like, just for them to know, me, I'm fine. Na ukiniangalia si discriminate vile mnaongea, si shtuki, kini ile jasho inanitoka. Like, na ngoja niulizwe na nani. Like, if I'm to show up with the evidence, I do not have. But you see, all that was that I needed not to be locked out. I still needed to be looked at, you know,
belong.
Caroline Momanyi. Kila mtu, unajua Caroline Momanyi? Wadem mazi yako na experience moto. Kumbe na struggle hata niko premas jakatiwa hata na mtu mmoja.
But can I shock you though? Like from that story, what I'm picking, because I'm trying to see how that plays out even today. Like, we feel like if you have a child, if you get married, you're taken by society as someone who can contribute to conversations.
Imagine.
So you're 32, you're 25, you're 24, you're 23. You feel like a pressure to start a family just because you want to be perceived a certain way.
Yes.
And to me, I'm just, when does it stop?
No.
You know, can't you just choose how you want to live your life based off of what you believe in? But then again, also, you know, the tokens they throw at you. I mean, sometimes they feel so good.
Sure.
Watch a maka tushtue.
Where?
What's your craziest thing you've done?
You know, to fit into a group.
For real slang. Mimi medanganya hata mimi.
Okay.
Because you see, you want to fit in, you want to belong. At the time, wazee unaona kama I need to do or I need to be able to do A, B, and C to niweze kubelong kwa hii group.
Mhm.
So ile uongo hata mimi nimechapa.
Mhm.
Sometimes I look back and I'm like, hey, was it necessary? You know, because it wasn't, honestly speaking. And that's the thing. Like over time, you get to realize and know that, hey, mazi, haikuwa necessary. And speaking of which, if you don't have that sense of identity, because it stems from a very early age, it grows, as Priscilla was saying. Like, even to the workplace, tumeona venye watu wana seek validation, which hunting each other, just to look good in front of your boss. You know, you can say anything about anyone, just to look like the better person.
I hear you, because I remember when I was 12.
12.
That I can't forget. That was the best birthday ever. And to those siblings that made it happen, I am grateful for you out here. And I remember my dad asking me, like, what do I want to be? And because my dad is a serious Catholic, yani pop na my dad ni yani wako same was up. And for me, I'm like, so I need to be on the right side of my father, you know?
Yeah.
So what to say? Yeah. So you can imagine a 12-year-old struggling with how does my father perceive me?
Yes.
And yeah.
Wow.
And I just say, for me, I would namsicheke. When I grew up, vile mi najiona, I would love to be a nun.
Hey, pick a side.
Hey.
Pick a side. Like,
I mean, looking
pick a
at my
struggle.
family, and you know that's where identity stems from, like your immediate socialization.
Yes.
From family level,
Yeah.
sisi ni wase wa kwenda church.
Church.
My father ndio huko liko ni Catholic,
Aki-
anatoa
aki-
matangazo huko mbele.
akisikia nana na furahi
Sasa
mbaya.
akisikia me, child,
Hey.
Mmeamua hivi.
nimeamua mi ndio nitakuwa nun.
This is my daughter.
This is the child that I'm supposed to be proud of. And for
Mhm.
me, that validated that, wow, in my father's eyes, ndio huyo mtoto. But I mean, wacha tu tuseme, I am still a law abiding.
Nonetheless,
Nonetheless.
if you get my drift.
Nonetheless.
Wow.
I feel like for me, if I was to add to that, I would say I remember when I was just after high school, and I went to my dad, and I was like, you know, he's woken up, he's in a good mood, he's in the living room, you know, I can, you know, and I thought I was
Ambako
the
unajua
favorite.
Those are the best moments.
You're
Those are the zingine.
You're the favorite daughter, so you think, you know, you've won his heart. So I was like, Daddy, I want to go and learn the guitar. Kasikia tu amesema my mom's name. I was like, why are you turning on me?
Jina ya kitambulisho.
And I was told, first of all, which talent is this do you think you have?
But wait, but who is this? Who is this guitarist?
Inspiration.
That
is inspiring you.
Yeah.
And to me, I was like, this is something I want to see. Like, do I want to explore that part of myself, right? But to him, it was like, you know what? You pick. I'm not entertaining this guitar nonsense. Find a course, go to school. Right? Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. And to me, that felt like that was an avenue I didn't get to actually explore. But then again, I'm like, sometimes parents can be very rigid. They can put their kids in a box. And today, children are so exposed, and there's so many opportunities and possibilities. And what's the harm in allowing your child to explore as well?
I think the box that you're referring to, we can say those are like their values.
Okay.
Yes.
And you see, values also are quite critical in the journey of, you know, developing your identity. And you're not born with them. So you must find them somewhere.
Exactly.
And one, you'll find them at home.
Yes.
So in my house, if going to becoming religious was the value that my parents held, that was also part of my identity. Then when I moved to the immediate society, hapo nje sisi ulikuwa ni sports, either ni bladder champions, and you admire those guys who would jump mpaka sijui where. Na we uitu kwa team, we unaambiwa tu chia, we chia tu, juu autoshi mboga. But, you know, those are some of the values that, actually values are part of the thing that would help in formation of identity.
Of identity.
Actually, you mentioned about values with regards to family, and when you get out, the immediate influence is also your peers, your friends. So whoever you choose as your friend or your clique, basically, they also influence you majorly.
For me, the thing I had to say is we have grown 30-year-olds, 35-year-olds who think their friends don't influence their values at 40,
Wongo.
at 30, at 35.
Wongo.
Kimimi.
I'm a different person to different friends. Yeah. And you see, it's not different from when I was in my house when I was 12. Kwa sababu I know the tune that my dad wants me to sing. I know the tune that my mom wants me to sing.
Yeah.
So me, when I'm at my mom's, I'm like the most I'm a child. Ile kunyenyekea. When I am at my dad, ile kuimpress, ile he must see me.
Yeah.
Alafu nikitoka ile uko nje, ile mdomo.
Ile mdomo.
Ile kuonesha hata
Kiburi.
wazazi wananiambia nini, you know. So wezi tudanganya. And for me,
peer pressure doesn't end.
No, never.
It doesn't
And in
stop.
identity formation, even ukiona, kuna mse alikuwa anasema, hao sisi hapa tu. Ati sahi mzungu akikama hapa, ile itatoka hapa, guys, utaanza kutuambia demarcating.
Sasa because you used to say data, itakuwa data.
Yeah.
And what's that? It's just that you want these other people, these other peers, whether it's within your age, your profession, your social networks, you want them to feel like, or to validate that hata mimi nafaa kuwa hapa. So nafaa kuwa hapa aje. Si lazima nionge language mnaongea. Na mi when I look at like peers personally, hiyo story tulikuwa nao tukigrow up, please, ka ulikuwa wewe uchezi games, mi hata nashindwa wale watu walikuwa introverted, sijui walienda wapi. Ama sijui hata walisurvive aje hiyo era.
Walikuwa wengie clubs.
Au kumbukwi, watu wakitia roll call ya mtaa, sema, pale kwetu kulikuwa sijui na, imagine watajuingi. Nobody remembers them.
Oh my.
Yeah.
I think sometimes if you notice your child is like introverted and they're struggling to find their place either with their friends in the court, sometimes it's, I think, vocalizing that and recognizing it and calling it out. Like, it's okay to actually just be introverted. And to be yourself. Because I find it so isolating. Because imagine us growing up, no one told us that being introverted is fine.
Kwanza kulikuwa na introverted. Hata hakukuwa nayo. Like, nafikiri tu niyo general understanding ya kila mtu ako tofauti. Na katika utofauti, it's okay. Because kila saa ulikuwa unaambiwa, mbona uko kama home, inaanza home. Mbona uko kama brother? Si unasumbua.
Mi si brother yangu, first of all.
Ukifika shule.
Exactly.
It's worse.
It's worse.
Yeah. So ni ile tu like, hata kama tunafanya identity development, ni sawa tu ukue venye uko kwanza. Like, pia as a parent, appreciate, Caroline ako hivi, Sila ako hivi. Na ni resources gani zinafaa kwa nani. Lakini I think our socialization, ni kama there's supposed to be just one program that should fit all of us.
All of us. I have an interesting take, right? When you're talking about identity, I feel like this is root work, like being an African as well, you know, and how that those insecurities that we've had, right? Like with the natural hair, with the colors of our skin, right? And I mean, that's another added layer to it, because now if you're a parent who struggles with identity, then some of those struggles are also getting to your child. Like you have to straighten your hair, it has to look a certain way, dreadlocks are not allowed in this house. You know, like if you struggle with our Africanicity,
that's very painful. I feel like she's speaking about me.
Carol, tell us.
Because you see, identity is not only it's not only in the education, in the religion, but also in the outlook, you know? Like, how did you prefer to look like? Na kuna vile ulikuwa na pia ukieka national unaambia ule ni mshamba. But sasa national hair ndio the thing, so unashinda na yangu ilikuwa ni dreadlocks. Mi kitambulisho yangu ya first nilikuwa na fidodido hivi. Okay, ilipotea, nashukuru walioiba. Kwa sababu ilikuwa ni dark.
Ni nini?
Ni zile dreadlocks ukianza, alafu zina face upward.
Zenye za trust the process.
Yeah. Lakini mimi nilikuwa na focus na kwenye
Itakaa
naenda. No, seriously. Ilikuwa itakaa fiti. Nakumbuka nikiweka hizo vitu. Ile kukemewa, it was bad. Like, I had the worst experience. I had people talk to me, and they're starting telling me how hizo nywele umeanza kuweka, ni kama unatumia vitu fulani, ama unatembea na kina nani. Kuna watu umeanza kuaffiliate nao wenye values zao ziendani na sisi. And mi nakwambia, hata nilipelekwa mbele ya kanisa kama example. Like, nyinyi musikue kama you know, like it was bad. I was traumatized. And me, I'm like, guy, I just love this hair. Hii ndio na feel. Nikieka mi tu nitafeel poa. Amaze nikajihumble. Identity journey si rahisi. So nikajihumble, nikakata, nikuwe mtoto mzuri, nikaweka ile nywele inafaa kuwekwa. My friend, years later, wale walinifanyia zile vitu walinifanyia.
Ndio hao sasa.
Wako nazo sasa. Na pia ni kitu ya kusema pia values zinaenda zikichange, right? Yeah, trends zinaenda zikikuja. So it's important to be very intentional in the journey of identity development. Na hata kama we are the adult in the room, the guardian, the peer, hata vile pia tunaongeleshana in this process ina matter, because sa wale walinikashifu. Wakasema, hey, you look like a thug. And now they have the dreadlocks. Tunafaa kuangalia nani. Like, how? I wish I can go and ask them.
I think in the journey of like identity, for me, I think self-acceptance. And the moment I actually discovered that thing, self-acceptance, because 13, 14, 18, 25, you know, people are telling you, be skinny, be this. You know, and then when you're skinny, you're told
no intention.
When you're skinny, you're told now you have to have a type of shape, you know, and navigating those years and coming to, you know, this is me, and this is how I show up in the world, and it's okay, right? When I was just like in that aspect of self-acceptance, all the other stuff came quite easier for me. I was also to be able to like, maybe by the way, I'll go back and plait my hair. I'll do what I want with my hair, right? Because that's how I want to identify as. This is what I've chosen for myself, right? It doesn't mean I don't have moments of peer pressure, yeah, because I'll still go and buy the trendy stuff, right? But at the core of it, at least I had that sense of groundedness as, yeah, this is who I am. I'm a Black woman. I have kinky hair. And it's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know, kwa maboy inakwaje? Like, is it the same? Because sometimes watu fikiria like your identity development kwa maboy inakam easy. Kwa sababu in most communities, the lens is not on the boys, you know, like, wao tu wako sawa. In fact, tunaambiwa mkwe kama.
How?
So I don't know, kwa maboy inakwangaje? Kuna kwangana hiyo pressure.
Kwa maboy bado kuna pressure. Kuna pressure kwa achieve. You want your dad to look at you and say, I'm proud of my son.
Damn, no. That's heavy.
Unataka msee kuangalia sema, hey, mazi, you're doing a good job. And you're looking for that. So you will do anything, literally anything, to get that. So when you're going through all these changes, body, emotional, and spiritual, because sometimes you even challenge whatever you've been given by your parents. Unasema God yuko. So when you're going through all this, unashanga niki approach mzazi about this. How will they take it? You know? So you bottle them up, definitely, and you try to portray like a very perfect image. Now, as you just want to, you know, explore. You want the one to achieve up here. So it's a rock and a hard place, even for guys.
Wow.
Yeah, it's bad. Because like now, like for me, for my folks at least, they allowed us to explore with my siblings. When you were hizo nywele nimekumbuka hata mimi nilikuwa nimeshuka.
Na uliruhusiwa na mzazi.
Mimi niliruhusiwa na.
Mimi ngoja nifike 18 bwana. Hii si ruhusa. Nilichukua sheria mkononi. Ile
Ukitaka kwa
understand.
ID ukaingia kwa
Hata sijui ni nani alitumia towel, ilikuwa uchungu. I hope
Oh, ilikuwa ile towel? Hey, damn.
Okay, it was many moons ago.
Okay,
Sende huko.
okay. Because for me ilikuwa
Your parents were
niliingia
enabling.
nyumbani, nimeshuka, and then I had a Marvin because I didn't know my dad's reaction. Nilikuwa tunashangaa sasa itakuwaje.
Unajua kutest.
Nilikuwa na test water. What's the worst that can happen here? What's the worst?
at the very least.
So nimevaa Marvin, but it was showing kidogo hapa because it was some zigzag lines hapa hivi alafu some more katikati.
Who are you, bro? Feel like
Well, I think we need evidence.
who are you?
I'll give
We
the
need
evidence.
pictures.
Baby. I'll give the evidence. So when he came home, he just saw the lines and he was like, "Oh, so umeamua ni hivyo." And he walked away. So I was so shocked.
Wait.
Nilikuwa nangoja kuchapwa.
Ati mzazi akakusho umeamua hivi.
Umeamua ni hivyo.
Okay. Wow.
And nikatoka kwa hiyo nikaenda kwa an afro unkempt. Nikaenda kwa ponytail. Didn't niko but hiyo ponytail sikutoka sana nayo.
Well,
Thank God.
And nilinyoa mimi mwenyewe. Like I shaved. Like it was a phase. They allowed me to go through it.
Wow.
To experience whatever I want to. And it's not just on my hair. It's on a number of things. Because you see, also since parents like, it's A, B, C, D, E. And then, you can only do that up to most likely after high school. When they go to university, you have really no control about that. So when they go to university, they start experiencing, oh, there's this. Oh, there's that. So for us, it was, we've seen this. So hakuna pressure.
Nini ingine anaweza tuonyesha?
Maybe
like, that's what they were. That's what they were thinking. Yeah, we have
to more nice stuff. So what else?
Yeah.
And I've seen my friends go through a lot. Especially those who their parents were really strict. Because mtu ametoka nje amepata excitement because mazee for the first time my folks are not anywhere close to me. So you experiment because you're looking for that identity as well. You want to fit in kwa hii. And you find yourself in trouble. Traumatic sometimes. Yeah, so
unfortunately. Yeah. No, I think what I'm getting from you is that as you're saying, identity development is a journey. And when you're journeying, you're experiencing. And then how can the systems, how can be the platforms in society help us experience? Of course, safely. Because also they are extremes. And even these values you're talking about, they are like, there's some things people value out here and you're like, okay. Okay, yeah. So how can we also as a community, as a society, as peers, as siblings, enable others to journey bila si lazima ushoot down kila kitu unajua like wewe unafikiria guitarist ndio inabamba saa hii jaribu hapa na pale alafu wewe mwenyewe utaona it's maybe it's taking too much of my time, maybe this is my big picture plan na aiendani na mimi kitu kama hiyo.
I think also what I gathered from your story and your experience is your parents trusted you. So that allowed him to also trust in himself, right? Because to me, when I was told I can't do the guitar, it kind of made me distrust myself a bit because I was like, yani mimi na akili zangu zote
masiku kadhaa ukafikiria setting the mood, making the presentation,
and then they literally laughed. These people traumatized me, guys. And I'm thinking, in that moment, it made me distrust myself a bit because I worried. So I can think of an idea and want to pursue it. And even marinate on it, sit on it and watch myself playing,
10 years from now.
10 years from now,
big stage,
and I'm like, I had thoughts of the person I wanted to be, right?
Yeah.
And it made me wonder, what is wrong with me? What am I thinking? So that level of distrust made me not trust my decisions all the more and made me be quite a safe person. Yeah, like it made me like stop wanting to explore. So right now I need so many validations before I pursue something.
Unaweza chekwa alafu ujui venye
exactly. So show me out when you wanataka, I want to do a course, but they've called everyone in the community. I want to eat something. Oh, what do you think? Should I? So that level of trust, I feel like sometimes parents or guardians can really help a child to build on that self-trust and to know that whichever path you've chosen, you can always go back to your center. Like you can always go back to your core. The same way, ulishuka ukacheza na nywele ukacheza na, but you are like, at some point, this is who I've decided to become. So for me, I actually applaud that.
Yeah.
And I would actually encourage us to, like, just allow the phase to be a
Let the
phase.
phase.
Yeah. And also unajua hata kama tunasema identity development, unajua ina sound kizungu ngumu,
Yeah.
lakini tu ni process.
Yeah.
Ni process. Na kama kitu ni process, inamaanisha kuna ile continuity. Hata wewe ukiendelea nayo unaendelea kureflect, unajiuliza enyewe, hii kitu nimefikiria ina align na mimi,
Ama hai-align. Yeah.
ina align kweli. But as much as kuna hii support system inakam, either kuchallenge,
Yeah.
because we can also look at that laughter as a challenge, like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Because kuna wale unakuwa challenge na the outcomes are bad. Labda mtu anahepa home, anaenda anafanya hiyo kitu na bado anakuwa successful. Mwingine atahepa na isikue, and all that. So ni kusema as much as tunatoa hii support, tusiangalie tu side moja. Juu kuna vile unaweza challenge mtu ama respond to someone in that, process of developing the identity, it ends up hurting other areas of their life.
True.
Stories za esteem, which means vile umekuwa hurt, unaendelea uko kwa process ya develop, do I stop whether unajua ama ujui, lakini what are you even developing? Because you're developing in fear, you're developing in shame, you're developing in like, this is the limit.
Yes.
So again, I think it's also very important. Yes, we can correct, we can ask you to shift, we can influence, but tunaongea aje.
And there's something you've mentioned, or rather asked, how can we try and make it better? The balancing of what I want and what you want as a parent, I think can also help. You see, like for Dosila, maybe your folks wanted maybe education.
Yeah, let me pursue.
So kuna compromise ya cheki, first, is it acceptable? Whatever you want. If it is, then in your education, fikisha hapa. If you get these grades or whatever, if it's grades you want, as a parent, if you get these grades, then we can start the process of this. If you do this, you can do this. So kuna hiyo balance yenye unajua, yes, this is also important, but this is what I feel, and it's allowing me to explore who I am. Inaweza fika mahali hata uingia kwa gito useme, hii kitu ni ngumu, hata sitaki na nibo.
Yeah, because na feel pia kuna most parents ni kama saa hii wako stuck. Juu kuna vitu walisema watoto wasifanye. Na saa hii hizo ndio vitu. Wacha kucheza na computer. For example, if there's a parent who ever said that, and looking at how technology has become, such an opportunity for how communities are transforming, how careers are forming. Yeah, so inabidi tu, as much as kuna value system, lazima pia kuwe na just trying to understand if it's your sibling, if it's your child. Si lazima afanane na wewe. Unaweza influence some of your values, lakini pia ku-encourage to, as a child, pia reflect. As much as unamwambia afanye hivi, akwambie, mom, mi sioni kama hiyo naweza kwa saa hii. What's the alternative? And then you can continuously support them.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think also another aspect of this conversation, I've just thought about it, is this is the Ujana podcast, right? And we're trying to collect young people with older generations. So I'm just thinking about this 65-year-old, 45-year-old, 50-year-old. Like, there's identity crafting and at a certain age, like, and why does it feel like when you've hit 50, stop?
Tunashukia wapi?
Hakuna kushuka. I don't think kuna kushuka. Anyway, mi sijafika 50, so mnaniangalia vibaya.
No. That question.
No, it's a valid question.
Yeah.
Mi sioni kama kuna kushuka. Mi naona ile kitu iko ni ku-appreciate.
Okay.
Like periods. Bila kusema, unajua kuna ile ka pressure sahi kwa when you are this age you're supposed to have done this. When you are this age you're supposed, hapana, ni ku-appreciate tu wewe uko na abilities gani. Na ni nini unaweza kufanya. Na ni resources gani ziko karibu na wewe zinaweza kusaidia ufanye
hiyo stuff.
Yeah, because we can all be 15, but our realities are different.
True.
And what you can achieve, what I can achieve is very, very different. Yeah. So sioni kama kuna kushuka, but ni ku-appreciate. na ni kujichallenge. Kama kuna kitu unataka kupursue,
Mm.
upursue.
Yeah.
Na ni sawa kama
Yeah.
iwork,
Sindio?
learn from it,
And move
tuendelee na
forward,
kitu
yeah.
ingine. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no harm in
That
that.
self-exploration,
Yeah.
finding new interests,
Mhm.
finding new things that you probably, by the time you're reaching that age, you're like, people make it seem like, hey, kule umefika, you want to go learn pottery so that, so I find that sometimes, even with the older generation and the rhetoric they were given, it was like, okay, you've done this, you've had children, you've raised them, now go rest, don't stop exploring. And when you see a 50-year-old who's exploring, you're like, okay.
Kwani amejisahau?
Exactly. Yeah.
Anyway,
So,
I think the topic at hand can make us go on and
Yeah,
on and on, because
right?
it's a process, as we said.
Yeah.
But I would just love to hear your parting shots. Like, okay, hii identity yenyewe. Having said all that, to me, naona.
I think for me, for identity, I'm like, choose your values. Don't be scared to explore. Mi ni mtu moja mwenye kesho naeza patata. I used to do like hosting a game night. And that's a different aspect of my identity that I explored. And I was like, there's some things that don't align with my values. And I was like, I'm not doing this anymore for now. Yeah. It doesn't align with who I am. Yeah. So, and in that moment, I had to do the activity to find out. Yeah. So for me, that self-exploration and believing that there's so much within you. And I also like to say, like, the world, the way it's so vast. Now imagine internally, even you
Wow.
as a person, you're very vast.
Really.
So don't be scared. Don't limit yourself. And then just allow yourself to evolve, right? Yeah.
Yes, Mark.
My take, parenting. Because I've gotten a lot about now the parenting aspect of it. Because allowing a child to go through the phases, allowing a child to explore, also understanding that your children may be different. So finding the useful resources that can benefit this child that maybe won't really work with this other one. I think that's my parting shot. Yeah.
I think for me, it sticks to the Ujana, the youthfulness. You as kijana, just being in the moment and allowing yourself to self-reflect, at the moment. Hata usifikirie mbali sana. Sahi tu, whatever I am aligning to, what does it mean for me, sahi? Yeah?
Correct.
Sahi, to self-reflect. And I'm not saying being short-sighted.
Yes.
No. Just consciously self-reflecting. Because then it makes you start thinking of ina mean hivi sahi na inaweza mean hivi, looking towards the future or to where I want to go. So how can we inculcate that culture? Kureflect tu kila time. Na kujua whatever we are doing continues to shape our identity.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for joining us on our very fast, difficult, but very necessary conversation. Yeah. We encourage you to follow us on our social media pages. Give us feedback on what you think, and we welcome you to be part of the conversation.